Trust. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on Adbn TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card to sell a vote. All voters advise against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Every day, decisions are made, policies are announced, challenges emerge, and lives are changed. But beyond the headlines, beyond the politics, beyond the noise, are the conversations that matter. On Softline, Nigeria's leading voices unpack the issues shaping our future, from governance to business, education, healthcare, technology, security, and the economy. Real conversations, expert insights, solutions that move the nation forward. Because understanding today's decisions shapes tomorrow's opportunities. Now airing 4 p.m. every weekday and Saturdays. Softline, where informed decisions begin.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces. Salute their gallantry. Stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
The last 3 months have presented a mixed security outlook for Nigeria, while bandits, terrorists, and kidnapping syndicates continue to test the resolve of security forces, sustain military operations, and improve interagency collaboration have resulted in major gains across several theaters of operation. In the northwest, states like Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, and Kebbi remain epic centers of bandit activities, with several communities experiencing attacks, cattle rustling, and adoptions. However, sustained air and ground offensives under Operation Fansin Yama led to the neutralization of scores of bandits, the destruction of criminal idols, and the rescue of kidnapped victims. In the northeast, troops of Operation Adin Kai sustained pressure on Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists, recording the elimination of insurgents, recovery of arms and ammunition, as well as the surrender of some terrorist fighters and their families. The North Central also recorded deadly attacks linked to armed groups in parts of Benue, Plateau, Niger, and Kwara states. Security agencies responded with special operations, deploying additional personnel to restore normalcy, while several suspects were arrested during follow-up operations. In the southwest, kidnapping has continued to raise security concerns, particularly along rural communities, farmlands, and major highways. In Oyo State, the adoption of pupils from a private school in Orire local government area of Ogbomosho sent shock waves across the region, while the kidnapping of a farmer along the Igbo-Ijayi Budo Are Bush area further highlighted the threat posed by criminals operating in the forested areas. In both instances, security operatives launched coordinated operations that led to the safe rescue of the victims, as efforts continued to track down those responsible. In the South-South, security forces maintained their crackdown on oil theft and pipeline vandalism. Operation Delta Safe recovered thousands of liters of stolen crude oil, dismantling illegal refineries and destroying several boats used for economic sabotage. Beyond military operations, the Nigerian Police Force, NDLEA, DSS, NSCDC, EFCC, and other security agencies recorded notable successes, including the arrest of kidnapping syndicates, dismantling of one-chance gangs, major drug seizure, recovery of illegal firearms, and the rescue of hundreds of victims across the country. While the last 3 months has shown that security agencies are sustaining the momentum against criminal elements, experts maintain that improved intelligence sharing, community participation, better equipment, and continued interagency collaboration will be critical to consolidating these gains and addressing emerging threats across the country. From the nation's capital, Fumilola Adeyemi.
Hello, good morning, and a warm welcome to Adbn's flagship program, Morning Express. My name is Chijioke Okafo. Quite a lot of topical issues in the news to dissect this morning, starting off with the House of Representatives that has asked the Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Diso, I beg your pardon, to produce the fake DG of PFIPC. As the House of Representatives continues its probe into the Phantom Council. Well, I'm not alone in the studio this morning. I'm with my colleague and co-host, Cynthia. Good morning to you, Cynthia.
Good morning, Chijioke.
Looking bright and good this morning.
And you too, I must say. Good morning, our viewers out there. Hope you had a very restful night. It's yet another time again on Morning Express. I know you're pumped. I know you're waiting to hear what's the latest on the news this morning. Just stay put. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back after this short time out.
You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's head straight to the front pages this morning, starting off with the New Telegraph newspaper, which has that reportage concerning the House of Representatives probe on the Phantom Council and its demands to the Inspector General of Police. The House of Reps is also under pressure to ensure that it summons the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila. Let's see what the New Telegraph newspaper says this morning. PFIPC probe is the catchphrase in red. Reps direct IGP to produce fake DG in 48 hours. One strapline. Signature on Adeyemi's appointment, not Chief of Staffs, says the police. AGF Ogunjimi alleges Adeyemi hijacked State House later. Now, right above the masthead, Tier 1 banks poised for strong first half results as investors add 3.66 trillion naira to market value. Enugu Air, FAN calls for patience as NSIB begins investigation. Now let's see if we can walk our way down just beneath the masthead. Wike amages loyalists in fresh battle over Rivers ADC. PVC collection at Deleke declares today work-free day. Alleged threat to life. Lawyers ask courts to compel Tinubu, AGF to provide security for OB. Senate clarifies FRSC amendment bill, says commercial vehicles preaching ban not new. Bode George, Akerele Buckner, lead tributes on Funsho Williams' 20th anniversary. And some more feature stories on the front page of the New Telegraph newspaper. Sanu to the federal government, implements 2026 pact now. Pay salary arrears, warns against victimization of members, insists on 1.3 trillion naira varsity revitalization fund. Speaker's impeachment, lawmakers declare war on Ayedatiwa. Now, of course, picture of prominence here captures President Bola Ahmed Tinubu receiving the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia ambassador to Nigeria, Yusuf Mohammed Al-Balawi, at the presidential villa in Abuja. And on the rider, tension escalates as federal government protests controversial death of Nigerian in South Africa. Tinubu declines meeting with South African envoy, directs Ramaphosa's delegation to Foreign Affairs Minister. Southern Kaduna, 30 killed in fresh bandits attack. Why army expansion won't solve insecurity by ex-spokesman. And soldiers will get another pay rise soon, says Defense Minister. Burate urges investment in drones, cyber warfare. Kaduna killings challenge Tinubu's claim of Trump's commendation later, says Atiku. And lastly, scientists test capsule that may block microplastics absorption. These are the stories featured prominently on the New Telegraph.
Away from the New Telegraph newspaper this morning onto the Punch newspaper, the story making headlines is one that is asking that Gbajabiamila be probed by the House of Reps. And the news says, House faces pressure to summon Gbajabiamila. As it has its kicker says, fake agency probe, House faces pressure to summon Gbajabiamila. Reps order IGP to produce controversial DG Adeyemi within 48 hours. Calls grow to invite COS Akume over 400 million naira bribery claim. Others. No funds released despite approvals, Accountant General tells reps. And just above it, we have this news that says 30 killed, houses burnt in fresh Kaduna terror attack. And above it, we have xenophobia as a kicker. Minister meets South African envoy after Tinubu's snub. Senate defends bus preaching bill amid public backlash. Obi Kwankwanso ticket sparks fresh NNPP NDC showdown. And going on under the story of prominence, we have 2 killed, 3 rescued in Anambra students' hostel collapse. And underneath, we have Speaker's impeachment. Ondo lawmakers issue fresh ultimatum, accuse Ayedatiwa. Nigerian woman dies of cardiac arrest during UK visit. 5.7 billion naira probe, court adjourns trial of ex-Kwara governor and commissioner. And a picture of prominence there has the collapsed property that was talked about. That's the Anambra State Hostel, where they're still trying to get out some students whom were part of the collapsed building. And that's it on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Well, the next 3 set of papers capture a similar story, much like the first 2, concerning the PFIPC, but from a different dimension. We'll take a look at the Daily Monitor, the Vanguard newspaper, as well as the Nation newspaper. Starting off with the Daily Monitor, the catchphrase in red there reads, PFIPC probe, Accountant General opens up, says Ademi hijacked State House later. OAGF discovered that every document submitted by promoters of PFIPC was allegedly forged. Reps order IGP to produce PFIPC DG Ademi on Wednesday. Now, away from that, let's see one story above the masthead. Attack on PVC collection center will not derail Osun governorship election, says INEC. Nigeria must invest in drones, cyber warfare, missile defense, says former Chief of Army Staff Tukur Buratai. No drug trafficker will escape justice, Buba Marwa vows. Dangote Cement deepens sustainability drive, advances green logistics, climate commitments. 30 killed in fresh bandits invasion in southern Kaduna community. And on the rider, federal government validates SAB's policy for $4.4 billion investment, jobs, says SAB's policy to spur agro-industrial growth. Now, these are the stories on the front page of the Daily Monitor. But before we move on to another paper, picture of prominence here captures officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Enugu Operations Office, coordinating the emergency response on the collapsed building in Orumba, North Local Government area of the state.
Away from that newspaper onto the Vanguard newspaper this morning, a story of prominence says how PFIPC was created, says the Accountant General. Rep summon Ademi, order IGP to produce him tomorrow. And just above the story of prominence, we have MAID rolls out May maps to operationalize low codes. 70,000 naira, now poverty pay, says NLC. Tinubu to announce fresh pay increase for soldiers soon, says the defense minister. And just above that news, we have a kicker that says sugar. Nigeria risks losing African market over high production cost. And just beneath the story of prominence, we have, as a kicker, xenophobia. Tinubu snubs Ramaphosa's envoy as FG demands early warning pact rectification. And by the sidebar, we'll have candidates upload. APC, PDP, ADC, others didn't meet INEC July 11th deadline, says source. Kwara APC stronger, ready for 2027 victory, says Abdul Razak. And just under the news that has the xenophobic news, we have this: ADC raises alarm over intimidation of opposition parties in Rivers. And students, others feared death as hostel collapses in Anambra. 30 killed in southern Kaduna as residents flee Chawai. And the picture of prominence there has the IGP Olatunji Disu, Matthew Adeyemi, the con artist, allegedly, and Speaker Tajuddin Abbas. And that's it on the Vanguard newspaper.
Well, the Nation newspaper comes up next. Let's take a look at that together. In the Nation, 29 forged documents by fake agency uncovered by the reps panel. AGF says later to Aso Villa hijacked. Adbn, 13 civil servants expected tomorrow. And at the very bottom, federal government says 98 Nigerians killed in South Africa within 4 years. Minister of State in tough talk with Ramaphosa's envoy in Abuja. Oduyoye quits Makinde's advisory council. Lawmakers insist Ondo Speaker must go. Now, of course, picture here captures members of the House of Representatives and the panel set up to investigate the Phantom Council. And there is a quote underneath the picture which says, "We are avoiding a situation where the police will be pushed into making statements that could undermine their ongoing investigation." Let's see some 3 stories above the masthead and then move on to other papers. Presidency or Shomole chide Obi for attacking Tinubu. Many killed in southern Kaduna attacks go after assailants, the presidency says. Over 40 bandits killed as troops repelled attack in Katsina. And lastly, now, women rule in the judiciary. These are the stories on The Nation.
Away from The Nation newspaper onto the Daily Courier newspaper this morning, the story of prominence has it, Nigeria condemns recurring xenophobic attacks as minister meets South African envoy after Tinubu's initial snub. And it says federal government demands concrete action, says 98 Nigerians killed since 2022 in Afrobic violence. We condemn intolerance. We'll address criminality within the law, South African president. Migration is a fact of history. Violence is not the answer, Minister of State and Foreign Affairs says. And just above this story of prominence, we have preaching, hawking ban in commercial buses existed since 2007, says the Senate. Ondo lawmakers insist on Speaker's impeachment, accuse Ayedatiwa of interference. Tinubu to announce fresh pay increase for soldiers soon, says the defense minister. And just above this news, we have federal government completes 40 roads, 5,400 kilometers under construction. Going under the story of prominence, at the sidebar to the left, we have Nigeria police repatriates 2 stolen vehicles from Burkina Faso. I take it again. Nigeria police repatriates 2 stolen vehicles from Burkina Faso. Release 2.53 billion naira TED fund allocation now, say SSANU tells the federal government. Tinubu has remained consistent on progressive ideals. Obi is a political nomad, says Bayo Onanuga. Women repay SME loans faster with fewer defaults than men. That news is according to Money Point. And also U.S. diplomats walk out of UN Security Council meeting to protest France's comments. And just besides it, we have this news that says fugitive drug kingpin, ex-international bag, 24 years jail for cocaine importation. I'll take that again. Fugitive drug kingpin, ex-international bag, 24 years jail for cocaine importation. And on the rider, we have Arokodara joins Ayas. Auburn moves to Turkish club on loan. And a picture of prominence on this news has the Corporate Affairs Commission with its Registrar General Hussaini Ishaq Magaji commissioning their new office at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos. And that's it on the Daily Courier this morning.
Well, let's move on to yet another paper and another story on the front page of the Daily Trust as well as the Daily Times. And it's concerning the attack in southern Kaduna that has left 30 persons dead. On the Daily Trust, headline story says, gunmen kill 5 siblings, 25 others in Kaduna State. I'll take that again. Gunmen kill 5 siblings, 25 others in Kaduna State. Now, 3 stories right above the headline story. Phantom Council, DG hijacked our later to State House, Accountant General claims. Plateau records 14 cholera deaths, 441 suspected cases. Gunmen attack INEC officials, steal PVCs, beavers in Osun State. let's take a look at the infographics on the front page of the Daily Trust concerning the recent attack in Kauru, Kaduna State. Now, of course, Kauru the attack happened in Naradon community, Kauru local government area, just a short distance, about 74.8 kilometers away from the Kaduna capital city, and a total population of 221,276 as at the 2006 census, and the total landmass of 3,186,000 kilometers in the community. On the rider, hepatitis patients battle stigma, cost, diagnosis delayed. Students injured in Anambra building collapse. Abductors of KB George demand 200 million naira. And lastly, ex-footballer, accomplice, back 24 years for cocaine trafficking. These are the stories on the Daily Trust.
Away from the Daily Trust newspaper onto the Daily Times newspaper this morning, the story of prominence says, insecurity, 30 killed in fresh invasion of southern Kaduna community. And going just above this news, we have, I'll ensure I'm not rigged out again in 2027 polls, says Obi. Oil prices tumble as U.S.-Iran truce eases supply fears. And just under the story of prominence, we have Reps panel summons fake presidential counsel DG, asks police to bring suspect. And the news on the rider has it, Tinubu snubs SA President Ramaphosa, declines meeting with envoys. And a picture of prominence there. From the left to right, we have Mr. Fidelis Anosike, Group Chief Executive Officer and Publisher of the Daily Times, and Dr. Yemi Ogumbiyi, former Managing Director, Daily Times of Nigeria, and Mr. Feyi Smith, Organizing Secretary, Times Heroes Awards. Probably having a conversation there on how to go forward from there. That's it on the Daily Times newspaper.
Oh, we have three more stories to go this morning. The Guardian newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune, as well as the Daily Independent. But starting off with the Guardian newspaper concerning the Osun gubernatorial polls. We hear that there has been a lot of credibility doubts over worsening violence and stolen PVCs. Now let's take it verbatim. Osun Guber polls, credibility doubts heighten over worsening violence, stolen PVCs. Now, this story is continued on news page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Right above the headline story, federal government begins 70 billion naira debt payments to petrol marketers as prices crash to $88 per barrel. Resident doctors strike disrupts healthcare services at Lut. Auctioneers fault EFCC's e-auction process. And some more feature stories to the left side of the Guardian newspaper. Investors gain 74 naira per litre in 1 year as market value surges by 87%. Necessity of Nigeria's response to xenophobia in South Africa. And at the bottom, PFIPC scandal. House orders IGP to produce fake DG, uncovers 29 suspected forged documents. Atiku, Sopaku demand federal government's action as gunmen kill 30 in fresh Kaduna attack. 176 Woro victims still in captivity as security operatives neutralize over 40 bandits in Katsina State. Ondo lawmakers accuse Ayedatiwa of meddling in assembly crisis. And of course, picture of prominence here captures President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the governor of Osun State, the INEC boss, IGP, and other stakeholders in the Osun Guber. These are the stories on The Guardian.
Away from the Guardian newspaper this morning, onto the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, the story of prominence says, Osun Guber, EU observers warn of security risks. Says August 15 poll critical test for electoral institution ahead of the 2027 general election. Identifies 13 out of 30 local government areas as high risk due to politically motivated killings. Cites prolonged dispute over local government administration as key source of tension. Calls for intelligence-driven security deployment in high-risk area. And just above the story of prominence, we have Defense Minister assures soldiers of another salary increase. Nigeria demands action on 98 citizens killed in South Africa since 2022. Lagos top states in IGR per person. Kebbi records lowest. And going under the story of prominence to the left side of the bar, FRSC Act. Ban on preaching in buses, others, was passed in 2007, not a new law, says the Senate. Says street preaching not outlawed. Cholera claims 14 lives in Plateau, 441 suspected cases recorded. And just under the story of prominence, we have no plenary until Speaker resigns, says Ondo Assembly spokesman. PFIPC, Reps panel uncovers 27 allegedly forged documents. And on the caption that has health, we'll have video games may improve memory, other cognitive skills, says researchers. And going under the rider, we have Reps pass legislative framework on whistleblower forfeiture of assets. Widen law and proceeds of crime, acquired proxy property, creates national confiscated wallet for virtual assets. False whistleblower risks 2-year jail term, 2 million naira fine, or both. Sokapu writes, police overkilling of 30 people in southern Kaduna. I take it again. Sokapu writes, police overkilling of 30 people in southern Kaduna. And these are the stories that make headlines on the Nigerian Tribune.
Well, let's move on to our penultimate paper of the lineup. Well, we hope to have our guest, Mr. Sean Oni, join us in just a short while. On the Daily Monitor, FAN asked to bear 20 billion naira annual cost of bet strikes. All these stories elaborated on news page 29 of the Daily Independent. Right above the masthead, Reps give IGP 48 hours to produce fake agency DG Adbn. 2027 poll, court to hear suit seeking Tinubu's protection for Peter Obi. PFIPC sought 27.4 billion naira grant using forged State House letter, says AGF. Court rules Amotekun lacks power to declare anyone wanted. And still on more feature stories, Senate denies street preaching ban in FRSC Act amendment. Plateau records 14 cholera deaths, over 400 suspected cases. Plateau records 14 cholera deaths, over 400 suspected cases. Nigeria's economy projected for stronger second half in 2026 growth. And lastly, police repel bandit attack in Sokoto, recover ammunition. These are the stories on the Daily Independent.
And that's it on the story that make headlines on the newspaper this morning. When we come back, we'll do the review on this newspaper with our top analysts waiting to do justice on the topic. Stay with us, don't go anywhere.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on Adbn TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Therefore, we must also play our part. Support our security forces. Salute their gallantry. Stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
You're welcome back from that very incisive break. And yes, we're on to the Morning Express, and this is time for the newspaper review. And we have one of our topmost analysts who will be joining us virtually for this discussions. And his name?
Of course, probing the scandal and also all parties involved. And they have now asked the Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, to produce Prince Adbn in 48 hours to appear before the panel. Now, this is quite dicey because a couple of weeks ago we saw videos of the same said Adbn being arrested and interrogated at a police station, and another video of him being escorted onto a plane and being flown to Abuja. So how exactly is it that the IGP is now being asked to produce Adbn? When did he go missing, and at what point did Nigerians realize he was missing?
Your question is one that had elicited a lot of reactions online. But I think it's a bit comical to assume that from the trend across the country that Mr. Adbn, the man in the eyes of the needle, as we speak, is missing. What happened was that there are a few agencies who are interested in grilling the man that is the topical individual in the country today. He is currently in the custody of the Nigerian police, But the challenge is that simultaneously, while the police is trying to extract facts and details from him, the presidency had also asked the DSS to ensure that no stone is left untouched until the exact details of what really transpired within those 2.5 years of the existence of the Phantom Committee, who orchestrated it, and very vitally, if his chief of staff has a hand in the whole brouhaha. While that was going on simultaneously, the National Assembly statutorily saddled with the responsibility of having oversight and also conducting investigative hearings, also empaneled committees in the Red Chamber were a bit hesitant, but I think the majority voice prevailed. The Green Chamber empaneled some of its members also, and they are sitting, and a number of people had actually appeared, and I'm privy that Adbn covered virtually all the sittings. So when the major actors, the Accountant General showed up, the CBN sent his representatives, we saw the a number of parties who are involved. Head of service of the Federation was also grilled in that committee. And they've said various things. So it's just fit and proper to have the man in the eyes of this whole thing to also speak for himself. Because if they have spoken, you know, when you have a conversations like this, there are 3 things that are important. You can speak for someone, you can speak about someone, but what is important when you are conducting an investigation of this nature is that this person must speak for himself. They can't speak about you, speak for you, and you are not there to speak for yourself.
I mean, it's very important. It's very important that while the investigations are ongoing, that Adeyemi himself, like you mentioned, appears before the panel to defend himself, or to at least give clarification to the barrage of questions that have been on the minds of Nigerians. The case is not yet in court. Prosecution processes have not been instituted against Adeyemi yet. The police has, like you said, has him in custody and is launching an investigation and about to prosecute him. So why does it have to take the House of Reps, given the IGP an ultimatum, a 48-hour ultimatum for the police to understand the importance of ensuring that they present Adeyemi to the Reps panel for questioning?
Yeah, that's the point I was building on, because it's a trendy issue. People need to be educated that the police has a statutory function, same for the National Assembly. So I want to believe the way this thing works is that the National Assembly would have written a number of letters asking that the police bring Mr. Adeyemi to also come and speak to the investigative committee. But you know how things work in this country. The police, we want to ensure, since he's going to eventually be the agency to prosecute him in court, that it gets sufficient information that will be useful, handy in court, because the moment he gets to the Green Chamber, it's going to be before the full glare of the camera. And some of the statements he will make into our defense in Nigeria might not be technically court, and we might just have statements made before committees of the House that will simply trend in the court of public opinion that will become useless. So these things are a bit technical, but the idea that the man has absconded, that's what we are trying to educate the populace. The man has not absconded. The police is doing his own job, their own investigation, so that it can have a thorough sale when it gets to the court. But the National Assembly is not that patient. The National Assembly wanted the man to come as quick as possible, and I think that's where communication is very important. That's the point I want to make finally, that it's not every time we have this, Yoruba, we call it gidigo style of things, that we just want to force our own opinion on the truth of other government agencies. A better, amicable way of communication would have been better, rather than an ultimatum for the man to be presented.
Mr. Sheon, let's shift the searchlight a little bit. You said something. It's important as we're speaking about persons, and it's also important that they speak for themselves as well. I want to talk about Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. Why does it look like there's some sort of pressure, even though we know that the federal government has actually said they should leave no stone unturned? Why does it look like there's some sort of reluctancy in probing him on Gbajabiamila? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I have read that, but I still want to believe it's in the realm of innuendo. Femi Agbajabiamila used to be a presiding officer in that House of Reps. He used to be a speaker of the House of Reps. I don't think there is anything in their rules that says that a former speaker who is, of course, an interested party, a major actor in a case, cannot be summoned to come and appear. I don't think anything is in their rules. If the president, the vice president, the most senior government officials in the country can be summoned by the houses, then the speaker, in my opinion, maybe they don't want to lay precedent, but that's the right thing to do in this instance. Having said that, we must also know that whatsoever outcome the House of Representatives eventually arrives at is not binding. The House of Assembly is not a court. It's just what it is. It will do its investigation, make some position. Maybe those positions can simply even help the police to do his job eventually when he arranged the man that we are talking about, Adbn, in court. But the court will have to do its job. We have to pronounce him guilty or not guilty, and neither the House of Representatives nor the Senate can do that. It's only the court in our Constitution that can say someone is guilty or not guilty. So it's just what it is an investigative hearing. So whatsoever they do, I think for me, the most important thing is what the police eventually does with the case.
Now let's just go to the next story that says that the PFI, still on the PFIPC probe, it says the AGF has opened up to say that Adeyemi hijacked the State House letter. How could that be possible? Would you want to throw your weight on it?
I think that is yes. I think it should be the Attorney General. There is a way we often. Am I correct? Is the Attorney is it the Accountant General of the Federation that says that it sends a letter?
Says the Accountant General of the Federation has opened up concerning some of the documents submitted by all involved.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's the clarification I was trying to seek. Is the Accountant General that said that there was a letter he tries to forward to alert the presidency, but somehow Adeyemi hijacked it. I think that itself is an indictment. If an institution like the Accountant General's office, a letter can be hijacked, who knows how many of such letters have been hijacked before now. So we need to, I think this whole issue had also exposed something very fundamental in the way and manner we run our government. There is still a whole lot of ineptitude, a whole lot of inefficiency, and quite important, a whole lot of corruption. I was so excited a few days ago when I learned that the head of service of the Federation announcing that posting and promotions will no longer be done the way it used to be, just the manual way. We need to begin to digitize some of our systems of communication. I'm aware that digital trail can be hijacked, but it will be a different ball game than saying that we wrote a letter to Bila Adeyemi, hijacked it. That itself is something that should concern and should bother us as a country.
Mr. Shell, it's.
I think this is where I might come in, Mr. Shawnee. Let's talk about the possibility of anybody at home forging documents and penetrating the crops of the president, the center of the president. On the Daily Monitor, it says every single document submitted by promoters to the PFIC was allegedly forged. Now, where does this leave the place of vetting? Where does this leave the place of ensuring that we have a foolproof system? Because if this can happen with Adeyemi and the Phantom Council, which is the PFIPC, how many much more do we have operating illegally on the ground with forged documents like the how many more do we have operating right now in Nigeria that we do not know about and that perhaps the presidency does not even know about? This is just what I want you to react to.
Well, you have laid a premise, but let me build on the premise that you have raised. Before these various government agencies and government parastatals came out and we were hearing their own opinion, disgraceful submissions. I also heard the head of service of the Federation came out to say such thing as the office that Adeyemi is currently using was actually not allotted to him. It was supposed to be allotted to an office in the SGF's own office. But for me, the fact that he operated there for 2 years plus before this whole issue came to the public glare, and he was receiving high-profile individuals, envoys of countries, highly respected Nigerians, forged letters, committees now saying something as forged letters and the rest of them. Why it is self-indicting, there is a bigger thing we need to also interrogate, especially because I'm speaking to those of us who are media and public relations space. How we have people at the zenith of our government agencies who are not trained in discretion in their communication completely beats my imagination. That a respected agency like the Accountant General's office we come to a public hearing and make such statement that we wrote a letter and individual hijacked it is a serious indiscretion. That the head of service will show up in this and tell them that we send the letter, but we allotted the school, but somebody else came. And that's the same, prism, perimeter that the person speaking also operated for those 2 years plus. And we have our DSS, we have our police, we have other intelligence agencies, and we were not able to nip it in the bud until it became a public discourse. And let me also add, the Green Chamber, who is still in the process of its interrogation and is already telling us that the letters are forged, they are faked. I can't remember them bringing any expert to determine fake forged letter. And that's why people have been saying it, that it's all a charade. It's just in a bid to somehow put a closure to the disgraceful involvement of the chief of staff if eventually the allegation is true. And people have a right to say that. But beyond the inefficiency, like I've said earlier, we need to also, as a nation, begin to rejig and retool the communication PR bent of those at the helm of leadership. This just coming to the public glare, but you see such slip on and on virtually every day of our conversation as a country, from ministers, from permanent secretaries, and these are not just emotional outbursts. It's a communication, a sad communication vibe that has characterized how we run our government. We say things before thinking. And so the government has to find a way, not just looking at our system. We are not just going to look at our reporting administrative system. We're going to also redefine. I read an article yesterday, I think from a book authored by somebody who served in the DSS for 40 years. And one of the statements he made was that it's just the norm that even when intelligence services, when they profile individuals and they return back a negative remark on the individuals, people in the political offices, most times using their discretion, we ignore the red flags and go ahead. And I think some of these things are things that the presidency, the SGF, and everyone in the corridor of power must begin to question. If we don't want to have a repeat of this, another day may coming up, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, and who knows how many DMs we have actually had before this came into the public glare.
When it comes to wider syndicates we are seeing at the moment, analyzing all of those things. The individuals that have been mentioned in this probe, especially by the Green Chambers, include the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, these are just top government officials or offices that have been fingered in this investigation. But by means of the House of Reps saying that they have been forged documents and somebody came along the way, collected the documents, this and that, are we looking at a wider crime syndicate than meets the eye?
Absolutely. I won't be surprised if, because you should ask yourself, during the budget crafting, the paperwork for the budget, who actually find a way to ensure that this shoddy agency finds its place in a national budget? That means the budget office has a question to answer. So I'm just trying to let you see how we can widen our trail there. We've had this same agency organize what we called, I think, World Investment Summit or something in Abuja. One of our colleagues was telling me that he actually attended the summit in Abuja, and letters were given to agencies and the rest of them. If those letters were actually given to those agencies, then we should ask ourselves, those agencies, are they tacitly collaborating with a phantom agency of government? So it's going to be a wide thing. But we must be careful that our usual Nigeria way of doing things doesn't go in the way of truly probing. I made a statement a while ago. This is exposed. How about several others that have gone unexposed? How about several others that are currently operating across the length and breadth of the country? Of course, it's the norm to see police arrest people with tainted SUVs bearing government plate numbers, phantom plate numbers. And unfortunately, I can't recollect anyone that have been arraigned before a court eventually, you know how these things work. Back channel, the man is left off the hook. He continues to perpetrate what he's doing. Like I always say on this program, the greatest way to nip inefficiency, corruption, wrongdoing in the board is deterrence. The moment someone knows that when I commit this offense, I will go to jail, I will be punished, my name will be stained for life, the chances are that they will think twice before doing it. But in the context, when you know that on a scale of 1 to 10, the chances that you'll be punished is 1, then you will go ahead. And that's the difference between what we have in this part of the world and the advanced crime. There are crimes because human beings are human beings. And I always laugh when people want to Nigerialize things like this. Somebody told me, said, this cannot happen in US. I said, no, you are wrong. It can happen. The difference is that the day you are caught, you can be sure that within 6 weeks, they'll be through with your case and you already know where you are heading. But Nigeria,
Okay,
don't be
Mr.
surprised, this
Shehu.
case might go on for the next 6 years and we won't have a headway.
Okay, Mr. Shehu, would like you to throw your weight on another discussion this morning. There seems to be tension rising as to the whole xenophobic attack in South Africa, and to see that it's now that the South African president is actually trying to give some sort of reply to all of the talks surrounding the xenophobic attack against Nigerians and other foreign nationals. What do you make of that story?
I was happy, pretty happy, when the news fell out that our president ignored the envoy of President Cyril Ramaphosa. But later I learned that he played the call through the back channel. The president spoke with him on the call and graciously received his envoy and was directed to go and meet with the Minister of State to have that conversation. By the time we were speaking to the media, I really was grateful for the very no hold back demeanor and presentation of the Minister of State while speaking yesterday. But I was a bit disappointed by the response of the South Africa envoy. He already had a prepared speech from South Africa, despite the very
Hello, Mr. Shehu. Are you with us on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line, please.
All right, please
So
carry on. Your
making
connection was severed a little bit back there.
Oh, thank you so much. So while he was making his presentation, the envoy from South Africa, from what I saw watching the press statement, was too shallow, did not address the major questions. Because there are two major issues. Number one, why have we seen a quarter of silence from the elite in South Africa? Number two, why has the country now used a blanket term that the attack was on criminal element when we had legal citizens of Nigeria and other African countries being victims of the xenophobic attack? I think those are the core issues. They were never addressed. I'm aware that the president himself, Ramaphosa, campaigned on something as we are going to ensure that people who are in this country who are taking opportunities to return back. So to roll back time and eat those words might be difficult for Cyril Ramaphosa. So my take is that we should not take our feet off the bottom. Remember that South Africa is already on US watch list for the same negative attack. So let other African countries, I'm happy Ghana is putting a serious pressure on them. We must not take that the reason they came here. Ghana is angry and they have been speaking. So we are not very vocal. Let's be more vocal. Since they are in the blacklist of the US will simply have other support to further pressure them to begin to think like normal human beings in the 21st century, because it's an unfortunate attack on Nigeria and other Africans.
Okay, Mr. Sean, do you want to think that the silence of the South African government might be due to the pressure from the ECOWAS organization, or probably it's due to the investigation that is surrounding the presidency of South Africa, talking about the Falafala controversy that's surrounding him?
There are many factors, so you cannot dismiss those factors from his culture of silence. But I think more importantly, political expedience is more important to Cyril Ramaphosa and his other people in the ANC than ensuring that we have an Africa that works for all Africans. I think domestic politics has taken the shine over the need to do the right thing in the 21st century. And you can see the position of the US government is the same. They are simply playing politics with human lives. And that's the one reason we should not take our feet off the throttle. We should put the pressure on them.
All right, so would you want to lend your voice quickly? Hello, are you there?
Well, I think Mr. Shononi's connection has been severed, but of course he's making quite very strong points concerning the strained relationship between Nigeria and South Africa. But the president of South Africa sending an envoy of the ambassador to Nigeria, of South Africa to Nigeria, to meet with Mr. President. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is by far disrespectful, if you ask me. And I'm very glad that the president had declined meeting the South African envoy and had instead redirected the envoy to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to meet with the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. And I think if the South African government had really wanted to address this matter head on, I would have expected that perhaps the president or even the vice president should have a meeting with Nigeria's president. Nigerians have suffered some of the biggest attacks, xenophobic attacks, since all of this madness started in South Africa, and it is only right that both countries resolve this matter. In fact, not just Nigeria, but South Africa particularly resolves the matter in-house and ensures that Nigerians and other African nationals are kept safe in their country. Mr. Shononi, are you back with us on the line?
Yes, I can hear you, but let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear. Now, we have just about 5 minutes or less to wrap up this conversation, but just in 30 seconds, let's get your last take on this matter before we move on to one security issue in the news.
Let's let South Africa know that we will not tolerate our citizens being treated the way and manner they have been treated over these past years.
All right, Mr. Shononi, in Southern Kaduna, we hear that 30 persons have been killed, and this is not news. This is not new as well. This has been happening for quite some time, but relatively we've seen some level of peace in Southern Kaduna, but yet again, 5 siblings and 25 others were killed in a certain local government area, Kwaru local government area of Southern Kaduna. Let's just get your reaction on this in a few seconds and we'll say our goodbyes.
It is sad news, and before now is that having a Minister of Defense from that part of the country would mean that a lot of fear will go into the spines of those who have vowed to make life uncomfortable for the citizens of the country, especially in that part of the country. But I just think military and intelligence agencies should return back to what they have been doing that has brought relative peace to that part of the country. Sometimes you can have setback as this, but we must not relapse into the setback. Ensure that we take back the right things we've been doing to secure citizens and the people of Southern Kaduna this number of months. That's the right thing to do. While we sympathize and send our condolences to those who lost their lives.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Shononi. the editor-in-chief of the Daily Courier, for speaking to us on these very important matters in the news this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Always a delight to be here. Have a beautiful day ahead of you.
You too.
All right, we've been speaking to Seun Oni, editor-in-chief, Daily Courier. Let's move on to our next guest of the day. We have a public affairs analyst joining the discussion this morning. On the line is Da Silva Saeed Olainka. Very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining Morning Express.
Thank you much for having me. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Good morning.
All right, let's have you pick up from where Mr. Seun Oni stopped off. I was hoping that he was going to do a lot of justice and in-depth analysis to the recent killings in southern Kaduna, but let's also get your reaction to this. Nigeria has in the last couple of months seen the worst form of insecurity in terms of the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast and bandit groups like the Lakurawa and the Mahmuda group in the northwest. And yet again, southern Kaduna that has seen relative peace in the last few months, especially since the assumption of General Christopher Musa as Chief of Defense Staff and now Minister of Defense. Yet we are seeing this very grievous news coming from that corner of the country. Let's have you react to this in just a moment.
Yeah, thank you very much again for having me. You see, first and foremost, I would like to sympathize with the government of Kaduna State and the family of the victims who have lost their loved ones. This is a very sad situation, a situation whereby you see people killing, innocent people, killing in numbers. You know, I don't think this is good for our country, you know. But again, you see this issue of security. Like I said, in one platform I found myself yesterday, issue is an issue that should not be politicized and ethnicized. It's something that affects all of us. It's something that all of us must come together collectively and support the government, because the government itself cannot do it alone. It requires the effort of both
support for the government, Mr. Olainka. When you speak of support for the government on the part of the citizenry, I presume, in what way can the citizens support efforts of the government, and I might add the armed forces and other security agencies in combating this scourge?
Yeah, like I said, you see, the issue of security, you will recall when Charlie Kirk was killed in the US in September 21, 2025 in America, that pro-Trump activist. You will recall after the killing, America was looking for him for 2-3 days. The government, FBI, appealed to the people, to the public, that whoever that have information about this particular individual to speak up. You understand? It's something that all of us, intel, the locals must be able to come out and give intels to our security agencies. I believe these marauders, these non-state actors, they are not living in the sky. They live with the people. I get my point. They live with the people. And whatever, anytime they want to carry out attack, they don't carry out the attack. They don't plan it in heaven or in the sky. They plan it within the communities. So the people in the community should be able to share intels with the security agencies so that they can avert these killings. You understand? That's what I'm saying, that the people too need to join out with the security agency to give intels. The
Mr.
security
Said,
agency cannot be everywhere. Yes.
Mr. Said, my question is, why is this recurrent killing prominent in southern Kaduna? Why southern? For the longest of time, it has always been prominent in the southern Kaduna. Why southern Kaduna? Would you want to lend your voice to that?
No, you see, no, let's be realistic with ourselves. This one that just happened, before it happened, we've not heard of such killings in southern Kaduna in the last 1 year. It was only Benue, Plateau that we've been hearing in recent times.
Okay, so you're saying 1 year is enough for them to have peace? Like, couldn't we have had continuous peace in that place?
You ask a question. I'm not saying that 1 year is enough for them to have. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the people in the community should be able to share intels with the security agencies. And I'm not talking about Southern Kaduna alone, because the insecurity that is ravaging us, that is staring us in the face, affects everywhere. We must say the truth. But I want to strongly believe that
Mr. Saheed, you keep saying that citizens in villages and communities should share intel with security agencies. Have you forgotten that these same communities are communities that bandits go to, stop the farmers from going to their farms, seize or steal herds of cattle and farm animals and whatnot, abduct people, impose taxes?
The locals does not know what it is. The highly sophisticated weapons. What I'm saying is that the class need to share information with the security. And I will give you an example. This story happened. How was the security about those fighting for it? The local agencies that we remember.
Hello, Mr. Olaika. Well, let's see if we can reconnect with Mr. Olaika in just a moment. He's of the opinion that intel should come from villages and members of communities where these attacks continue to happen. Now, Cynthia, it's quite absurd because we have seen time and time again where these communities are held hostage perpetually by bandits. Taxes are imposed, abductions are made almost on a daily basis, negotiations are made with either local government chairman or even the state government. Funds are released, ransom monies are released to the bandits, then they release the same individuals back into the communities, and when the money finishes, or when they buy ammunition or arms with the money, they still come back to the same communities and abduct. And while he was also veering towards the fact that there should be some sort of intel, is he expecting community members and villagers to go into the bandit hideouts and eavesdrop on the conversations they are having, or where their next target of attack will be? It beats my imagination, really.
It's really saddening, because when I saw those bodies lying lifeless, I was like, are these people dead, or they're just feigning death? Because I do not know what we make of life in this country. You see, these bandits, I want to believe they are not ghosts. I want to believe they are humans. They pass through roads to get to these villages. And when you say you're looking for intelligence from this community, small community occupant, I really don't get that, because we're saying we're fighting banditry, insecurity, and so every state should have been alert by this time. I do not expect this level of carelessness, because if you ask me, those villagers do not owe anybody any form of intelligence. They were doing their normal day-to-day living, going about their normal daily lives, and they were just
And then you expect them to automatically turn into intelligence agents.
Where were the military in their different locations? Because Kaduna, as I understand,
is very ridiculous.
It's a headquarter of the military, heavy outfit of the military personnel, if you ask me. And then where was the police in all of this? Where was the local vigilante groups?
And that's why it's quite concerning and very surprising that Mr. Olaika would rather point fingers at the victims rather than state actors and stakeholders who are responsible and saddled the responsibility of ensuring protection of lives and property of citizens. And I really wish his connection was quite okay, so that he can also respond to the federal government's, rehabilitation of terrorists and reintegration of these terrorists into the armed forces as means of, again, intel. This is just what he has been hammering on. But we hear that Mr. Olaika is back with us on the line. Mr. Olaika, thank you so much for joining back. Can we can you test your mic so that we are certain you can hear us? Hello? Kindly check if you're muted on your end so you can unmute yourself and we'll have a conversation. Hello, Mr. Olainka? Well, Mr. Olainka's connection has been severed, but in just a moment, we'll have him back. In the meantime, let's take a quick break. When we return, we hope to rejoin Mr. Olainka to talk about other matters and very interesting stories on Morning Express this morning. Stay with us.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces, salute their gallantry, stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us. And together, united as one people, we can defeat it. For our children, for our communities, for our future, for Nigeria. Join the movement. Stand for our country. Stand for one another. Hashtag Unite Against Terror.
Did you know vote buying and vote selling is a criminal offense? Under Nigerian law, the punishments for vote buying and selling includes a fine of 5 million naira, a 2-year jail term, or both. Through strict legislative updates to the repealed Electoral Act 2022 ahead of the upcoming general elections, the National Assembly significantly stiffened these penalties. Under the current legal framework, Section 22 of the new Electoral Act 2026, the fine was escalated from previous limits, which capped punishment at 500,000 naira and 12 months in prison, to not less than 5 million naira and a jail term of not less than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stiffened penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. ADBN. A part of you.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Keep your hands.
Every day, decisions are made, policies are announced, challenges emerge, and lives are changed. But beyond the headlines, beyond the politics, beyond the noise, are the conversations that matter. On Softline, Nigeria's leading voices unpack the issues shaping our future, from governance to business, education, healthcare, technology, security, and the economy. Real conversations, expert insights, solutions that move the nation forward. Because understanding today's decisions shapes tomorrow's opportunities. Now airing 4 p.m. every weekday and Saturdays. Softline, where informed decisions begin.
You see their station. Or this country cannot get it.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on Adbn TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
The House of Representatives is pursuing two priorities: strengthening public accountability and modernizing Nigeria's commercial laws. While one ad hoc committee is focusing on the unestablished council, the other is advancing reforms to improve the country's business environment. The investigation has now entered its third week, with focus on the administrative processes behind the alleged council's recognition.
By the Chief of Staff to the President. Can you check the two signatures? Are they the same? They are not the same. They are not the same. They are not the same.
So the letter that was confirmed by police, Nigerian police, that Chief of Staff wrote to them for the investigation of the purported agency, the signature of the Chief of Staff does not tally with the signature of the letter that is obtained from the Prince Adeyemi.
The council's financial processes also came under scrutiny, with lawmakers told an administrative code was created, while a proposed 27.4 billion takeoff grant was not approved because there was no budgetary provision.
The letter that was written to state to Treasury for us to give administrative code, it was responded back to State House. But unfortunately, as event unfold, it was discovered that that letter did not get to State House, it was hijacked.
Modernizing Nigeria's commerce law also featured on the House legislative agenda, with proposed reforms aimed at strengthening consumer protection, improving trade regulation, and supporting the growth of the digital economy.
We must ensure that our commercial laws are responsive to emerging realities, technological advancement, and international best practices.
And I think we have to be advocates for free trade. We have to start with ourselves in the room. Do we actually believe in these things, or is it just lip service? And know that we're going to be only able to take this work to a certain degree, and then the people that will follow will take it to the next step, and it will never really reach the end. It's always going to be an arc to perfection.
The proposed legislation is expected to provide a stronger legal framework for commerce as business transactions increasingly move into a digital space.
The bill is not merely about implementing an international treaty. It is about positioning Nigeria to fully harness the opportunities of continental trade while safeguarding our national interests.
As the investigation continues, lawmakers say focus remains on strengthening accountability and advancing reforms in Nigeria's commerce laws. Laraba Mure, Adbn.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime. Time, anywhere, with Adbn, a part of you.
The answer, according to Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, lies in the growing threat that tensions between Yemen's Houthi movement and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia pose to global trade, energy security, and economic stability. Well, this conflict began as a civil war between a group of rebel students, the Believing Youth, and the Yemeni government. Well, it also gave rise and become a global spanning conflict that has dragged most of the world's major powers and now threatens billions of dollars of international trade. In the process, it has transformed the Believing Youth into one of the world's best armed and most feared terror groups, the Houthis. Well, the warning from Nigeria's foreign ministry comes as attacks on commercial shipping and threats to maritime routes in the Red Sea raise fresh concerns about global supply chains. The Bab al-Mandab Strait is located between Yemen and the Horn of Africa and is one of the world's busiest shipping corridors. It's linking Europe, Asia, and also the Middle East. For Nigeria, officials say the concern is not just diplomatic, it is also economic.
Nigeria sympathizes with Saudi Arabia on the attacks on oil facilities. Such volatility undermines economic stability for both producers and consumers, threatens energy security and disproportionately harms developing economies that depend on predictable oil revenues and affordable energy imports.
Although this conflict is taking place thousands of kilometers away, Nigeria says disruptions in Red Sea could have direct consequences for global shipping, energy supplies, and the movement of goods. Any prolonged instability could increase transportation costs, raise insurance premiums for vessels, and ultimately affect economies beyond the Middle East.
Our concern is that in terms of shipping routes in the world now, if the Strait of Hormuz is affected, and vessel that's supposed to maybe convey goods from that particular area to a particular port, discharge their cargo and maybe come to Nigeria to load crude or carry other economic products. If they are stranded there, it will affect the supply chain because it's the same sea-going vessels that move to different ports in the world.
Nigeria also insists that its position reflects its strong diplomatic relations across the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. As concerns grow over the security of critical maritime routes, Abuja says dialogue remains the only sustainable path to prevent further economic and security shocks in an already fragile global economy. Amma Marcus.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
Every day, across forests, highways, towns, and villages, brave men and women stand watch so that Nigeria can sleep. They leave their families behind, confront danger head-on, and make sacrifices many of us will never see. Yet, the enemies of our nation continue their assault. They target our children. They murder innocent citizens. They force families from their homes. They turn thriving communities into places of fear and uncertainty. Their goal is simple: to break our spirit, divide our people, and steal the future of our nation. But Nigeria is stronger than terror. As we demand greater accountability, stronger security measures, and more effective action from those entrusted with our safety, we must also play our part. Support our security forces. Salute their gallantry. Stand with those who stand for us. If you see something, say something. Let us be our brother's keeper. We must never surrender to fear, despair, or hopelessness. This is not the time for division, not by tribe, not by religion, not by region, not by political party. Because terror recognizes no ethnicity, no faith, and no ideology. Its enemy is all of us.
Than 2 years. Additionally, convicted offenders face a mandatory 10-year ban from contesting any election in Nigeria. The stifling penalties apply explicitly to anyone who unlawfully possesses a voter's card, sells or attempts to sell a voter's card, buys or offers to buy a vote, or sells and offers to sell a vote. All voters are advised against selling their votes. If votes don't count, who would try to buy them? Stay updated on our latest series of voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment.
You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's see if we can reconnect to our guest that we were speaking to earlier, Mr. Saheed. A very good morning to you once again, Mr. Saheed. Thank you so much for rejoining Morning Express, and welcome back to the program. Especially over worsening violence in Osun State and the theft of PVCs in the state. Let's get your take on the Osun polls and, of course, how you think it will eventually play out, both on the part of the electoral umpire, INEC, and on the part of the political parties, as well as the electorate who will go to the polls when the elections take place.
Thank you very much again for having me. Yeah, we have seen on social media the level of killings that are being perpetrated in Osun State by political actors. I just want to advise them that politics is not a do or die affair. It's supposed to be seen as a game of sportsmanship. You know, there will always be a winner and there will always be a loser. But I want to say here that this election, APC is going to win. And APC has been conducting themselves in a very peaceful manner. APC, don't forget, Accord is the ruling party in Osun State. They have all the
Mr. Said, I would like to ask if you have any affiliation whatsoever with the Independent National Electoral Commission, and also if
So I actually witnessed what happened across the party lines. You understand what I'm saying? APC in Osun State, from what I've observed, and I was also in Osun around February, from what I've observed, because I ran the local government in Osun State, at least I visited like 12 local governments in Osun the last time I went to Osun. And I was in the market, I interacted with people, I interacted with people in the market, in the parks, in churches, in mosques, you know. I interacted and I asked questions. What the feelings I got was that APC candidate is a man that has a very good pedigree. Is a man, in fact, they even told me that, you know, Aregbesola was paying half salary, you will recall. But when Oyetola became governor, this candidate of Osun State governorship election, he was a commissioner of finance under Oyetola. He was the one that stopped that half salary. And you know, Osun is a civil service state. So for that kind of a person to, you know, to stop the payment of half salary and be giving the civil servant full salary, you know, it's something that the Osun people commended. And they are saying, from the feelers I got, that they are going to vote for this man because of his pedigree. And again, what they were telling me when I visited Osun was that Adeleke concentrated infrastructural development in Ede, where he comes from.
Is this a fact? Is this a fact that you have substantial evidence to prove? Is this something you have seen for yourself, or are you mainly basing your arguments on hearsay from the people that you claim are telling you that they would vote for APC due to the fact that Governor Adeleke has decided that all the funds coming in from FARC and all the allocations to the state will be focused on Ede, his local government area?
Like I said, in this the election that was conducted, which was on Saturday, 2025, I visited Osun State as an election observer accredited by INEC. Now, what I didn't feel as I got when I got to Osun was that infrastructural development, this present governor concentrated infrastructural development only in Ede, where he comes from. And I visited Ede. I was also in Osun this year around February. I have that living there. I have some of my family members. Osun is just like a second home to me because I also resided in Osun before I left. So I know what is happening in Osun. As far as Osun political landscape is concerned, I'm very, very conversant and politically when it comes to Osun politics. So
okay, Mr. Saheed, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. It's a very beautiful thing to know that you're very conversant with Osun State. And as a matter of fact, you were able to carry out some sort of opinion poll from the citizens of Osun State. So with that being said, I would like to know, looking at this particular news, talking about the credibility involved in our elections that will soon be conducted in Osun State, what side or whom do you think, in your opinion, are the perpetrators of the stolen PVCs?
Well, you see, I don't want to, you know, accuse any political party here. Are you getting my point?
No, based off of your opinion poll that you carried out.
Like I said, you see, the ruling party in Osun is Accord Party. And Accord has the paraphernalia of, you know, of government. They have the security, they have the, you know, they have everything. You understand? You know, the APC is not a ruling party. So there is limitation to what APC can do. Are you getting my point?
So are you saying that the Accord Party actually infiltrated, or they are the ones that carried out this dastard act of stealing PVCs of credible Nigerians? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if that is how you want to quote me, so be it. But what I'm saying is that
it's not how we want to quote you, Mr. Saheed. You have claimed that since the APC is not the ruling party in Osun State, meanwhile the AP is, and certainly they have the full structure of the state, they have control of the security agencies, which I don't really believe because governors are merely ceremonial chief security officers in the state, but we'll still get to that in a moment. You are claiming that they have every might to have orchestrated the theft of PVCs in the state. Now, I'm just wondering, why will the ruling party in the state go as far as stealing PVCs when they're already in power and they understand the strength that they have when it comes to, state might in the in the August 15th elections? Shouldn't opposition parties, much like the APC perhaps?
Well, how do you say opposition? The way you see, I've been studying politics, Nigerian politics for decades. And when I talk, especially when I talk about Osun politics, I know what I'm saying. I'm talking from an informed perspective. I have my people there, and I visited Osun. I visited Osun this year, February, and I visited like 12 local governments. I was in Ede, I was in Olorunda, I was in Ejiko, I was in Ilesha East, Ilesha West, I was in Ife East, Ife West. So I visited a lot of local government there, and I have my people there. You understand? And these people I'm telling you, they are not partisan people. You understand? In fact, I was on air. Even after the primary election conducted, they interviewed me. Some of the TV station, media station in Osun called me. They interviewed me to come and give my opinion on the primary election that was conducted across the party lines. You understand? Because I'm very conversant when it comes to Osun politics. And when I talk...
Okay, so Mr. Saheed, what would you say is the cause of the rising or worsening violence in Osun State? So much so they have to cut away so much PVCs. What would you say is the cause of that? Why is it rising?
I feel that the government in power...
Are you feeling, or would you speak due to the opinion poll you carried out? I do not want you to feel. I would like that you give us facts based off Osun State so much, and you carried out an opinion poll.
The government, because the government in Osun, the government has failed the people. From the opinion polls I conducted the last time I visited Osun, the government has failed the people, but the government tried in Ede. He worked very well in Ede because he did a lot of roads.
So why would you say he worked so very well in Ede? What would you owe that to? What would you owe so much work in Ede to?
That is where he come from. They always played out in governance. Where you come from, you are from a particular place.
Mr. Olainka, let's lay the matter of Governor Adeleke to rest and talk about the Osun polls. It's not about Governor Adeleke, it's not about Accord Party, it's not about APC, it's not about the People's Democratic Party, it's about the electorates and also the safety of the electorates when it comes to the polls. Certain EU reports observers, I beg your pardon, have warned of security risks in Osun ahead of the August 15th polls. Now, the EU observers are also saying that the elections will be a critical test for the electoral umpire INEC ahead of the 2027 general election, which is something I believe you would agree with. It also identified 13 out of 30 local government areas as high risk due to politics. Remember, if you recall, the local government allocations the FAC allocations have still not been released to the Osun State government due to this local government brouhaha. Now, it's also calling for intelligence-driven security deployment in high-risk areas. This is just what I want you to address this morning. The security of lives and property of the electorates before, during, and after the elections.
Like I said earlier, politics is supposed to be, I want to appeal to political.
Well, it appears that Mr. Olainka
as a game of party. Nobody can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Please carry on. Carry on, sir.
Like earlier, I want to the political actors. Politics is not a do or die affair. It's supposed to be seen as a game of sport. No state. the election will come and gone, and the winner will be announced. That one is certain. So I don't see any reason why the political actors should be, engaged in violence, because the Osun we are talking about belongs to all of them. You understand my point? So there is no reason why they should kill each other. But again, I want to urge the security agencies in Osun State to live up to the expectation, to not be partisan. This Osun State, like you said earlier, is going to be Osun State election is going to be a litmus test for integrity of INEC. You understand? And then the security agencies, INEC cannot do it alone without the collaboration with the security agencies, because the security agencies are saddled with the responsibility of enforcing the law. You understand my point? So the security agencies should go after those perpetrators. Whoever that is perpetrating that violence in Osun should be dealt with. Should be dealt with. Should be dealt with. Because I see no reason why we should be shedding blood because we want to be in power. It doesn't make sense. So I am appealing to the security agencies.
All right.
Because the killing.
Mr. Said, can you hear me? All right, Mr. Said, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Said. All right. We're afraid that's the much we can take. All right. I said we're afraid that's the much we can go on this analysis with you on the program right now. And we'll hope to hear from you some other time when we call upon you. Always good to have you. Thank you so much. All right. About this time, we'll go on a short commercial break. And when we return, we're still on Morning Express. Stay put.
Voter education on the Adbn Enlightenment Campaign.
Every second, a story breaks.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has formally presented the 2026 appropriation bill to the National Assembly.
The nation reacts. The world shifts. History moves in real time. Before the noise, before the opinions. One screen keeps you connected. From the headlines shaking the nation to the stories everyone talks about tomorrow. Stream anytime, anywhere. When the story matters, you know where to turn. Adbn. A part of you.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
You're welcome back to Morning Express. Now, for the last leg of discussions on the program this morning, we have been joined by the Assistant Representative, UNFPA Nigeria, Mr. Andet Dashi Dasagot. Very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Well, let's talk about one very important resource that Nigeria has access to in millions. The youthful population. A lot of times you hear of the youth. There have been so many controversies from the former late President Muhammadu Buhari saying that Nigerian youths are lazy, which caused quite a stir back then, to other instances where Nigerian youths have, broken and shattered glass ceilings, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but across the world. We've also had the youth demographic in Nigeria to the development and economic stability of Nigeria.
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very good question. And I'm not going to go into the controversy of what the former president said. But just to put on record that our youth are our biggest assets.
Okay.
The youthful population is the country's biggest asset. It is not petroleum, as people say. They form about 33.8% of the population, and when I'm talking about the demographics, that is 10 to 24. If you extend it to 35, the percentage is very large.
Very large.
So they are our biggest demographics. Why? Because, like we said, they're the future generation. So we need to nurture them so that they take over the productive component of this country. Moreover, if you don't have such a large population, where will you get your resources from in the future? The young people are so important to the extent that they are the ones that are supposed to develop today and even develop tomorrow. There's a concept we call demographic dividend, which is the benefits of having those young people and turning them into productive workforce so that they grow the GDP. How do you do that? You invest in their health first and foremost, which is the most important human capital. You invest in their education to make them acquire the skills that we need in future. And then you invest in job creation, because once they finish school, they will need jobs. So the biggest challenge we have right now in Nigeria, the reason why people think young people are lazy is because we have not developed them and they have become dependent on the working population. And unfortunately for Nigeria, the working population is very small, which is those that are economically active from 15 to 64. We have not been able to grow that population.
No, where is this deficit coming from? Because if you take a look at the civil service, already at the moment, you might say it's oversaturated and pushed into the labor market, either into the public sector or into the private sector. And, you know, everyone is grappling and trying to find where to fix themselves. And those that are lucky, you know, in no distant time, find a spot to, attach themselves. But when we veer off the public sector, how important is the private sector in all of this development, especially creation of jobs? And how do you think government agencies saddle the responsibility of course, handling, private investors or private businesses can create an enabling environment, a very suitable environment for businesses to thrive and for more hands to be hired, whether it's in any industry at all, so that we can have this very massive, enormous population of younger people, kept busy at all times?
There are different ways of looking at what you've just analyzed. One way is to look at the number of people who turn out from the universities.
Yes.
Are barely 1 million. Every year, the jobs were able to...
Private and public sector?
Both private and public sector. The estimates have it that we generate about 1.2 million jobs.
Yes.
Look at the gap. We're turning out 4-point-something million. Growing jobs is not just the responsibility of government alone. It's the responsibility of everybody. One major job opportunities that we have, which is agriculture, is being neglected. People are migrating away from the rural areas. Right now, we have more than half of Nigerian population that are living in the urban areas. Those who have gone to search for jobs and could not get and end up staying there.
And the farms are neglected.
And the farms are neglected. Meanwhile, there are businesses that we can grow in the rural areas. Those are non-negotiable. If you make the rural areas very safe and very productive, definitely they will stay back. And we can see examples of some few governments that are doing that in the rural areas. That is one possibility. So make them productive, make them safe, and people will stay.
Okay, I just want to cite an instance, Mr. Andert. You just said that the government just needs to make the youths more productive in the rural area. If you remember, just quite recently, a few days ago, some quality number of Nigerian youths, over 6,000, was called to the Nigerian bar. Are you suggesting that?
Enabling environment. Before you get paid for any videos you are watching, right now, you need an account abroad. Why can't government make that possible in Nigeria? If government is able to create that enabling environment for young people to be paid, banks in Nigeria.
Especially for content
for
creators.
content creation, for merely watching videos. If you watch up to 1,000 videos, you are entitled to something. But that money will not be remitted to you because you don't have a bank account in Nigeria that can accommodate that. Those are the kinds of things I'm talking of. So imagine Nigeria creating an enabling environment where there's a bank that people can get paid for in Nigeria.
Mr. Andet, it might also be something of a reminder for you to also remember that Nigeria is seriously grappling issues of insecurity, both in rural and in the urban area, but most prominent in the rural area. With that being said, what is the UNFPA doing just to see that we bridge that gap?
To develop the youth, the young population. And our biggest strategy, like I said, is propagating enrollment of demographic programming at the local government level, at the state level, and at the federal level. And by that demographic dividend programming, once you engage the young people in school, they will not have time for dumping university education to go into business because they have entrepreneurial skills. So that should be the way to go. We need to look at our educational curriculum. It is no longer about, because people read psychology, they cannot get jobs, read history, and they don't have entrepreneurial skills. So we need to look at those curriculum, retweak them a bit to, imbibe entrepreneurial skills, or, restructure them such that there are job opportunities.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'm afraid this is all we can take with you here on Morning Express.
Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, we have been speaking to Mr. Andet Dasegot, who is the Assistant Representative, UNFPA, Nigeria. We've been talking about Nigeria's youth population and the potential inherent in that demographic. Well, this is the size of it on Morning Express. Thank you so much for watching. At the top of the hour, it will be time for Adbn Sports with Samuel Adeleke. My name is Chijoke Okafo.
And I am Cynthia Okosa. Have a lovely morning.